The Punisher is back for around 5 minutes. We see that Fisk is indeed still struggling with being a petty man, and Matt continues to struggle with his desire to let the system do things the way the system is meant to. I swear this show is trying so hard to give us all blue balls so that when Matt does finally suit up again as Daredevil, we all explode with excitement. God, did you really think I'd be talking about coming in a YouTube video? Let's talk about episode 4 of Daredevil Born Again. Well, I have to be honest, as good as the writing is on this show, I am starting to get a bit frustrated with the lack of forward momentum for Matt's story. I said this before and I'm going to say it again. We have waited since 2018, is it 2019? One of those 2 years to see Daredevil in his costume yet again. And all we've really gotten in this series so far is basically the first 5 minutes of the first episode, and it was a really awesome scene, but come on, I think we want Daredevil back. But jumping into things, let's break down the noteworthy moments about this episode, the things that I thought were the most interesting, and my reactions to those. This episode opens with the fallout of the previous episode, episode 3, in which Hector Ayala, White Tiger, got gunned down in the middle of the street. Matt is clearly quite upset about this. This was not the ideal situation. He fought hard to get this man out of prison, and now he got shot dead. The medical examiner basically explains that the bullet is missing, and this appears to be an execution style hit, which we did know already. We also get a pretty powerful scene between Hector's niece and Matt. She wants to see his body, but Matt says that this is not the way you want to remember your uncle. You want to remember him healthy and happy and not with a bullet in his head. So he says, don't do it. This girl seems like she's gonna have some spunk. Maybe she's got a future career in superhero vigilante as well, because she is pretty sure that the cops are behind her uncle's murder. And Matt doesn't seem completely unconvinced that that's what's going on as well, but he is trying to go by the book, and there is no proof that the cops had anything to do with this. Of course, later on, we do find out that, in fact, the cops really didn't have anything to do with this, at least judging by that one cop's heartbeat. Jumping over to Daniel Blake, Fisk's new ambitious staffer, played by Michael Gandolfini, well, he ends up running his mouth a bit too much while he's out at a club and ends up getting some trouble brought on to Wilson. I have to say, there is some comedy in this episode, and it worked out really well. Vincent D'Onofrio has some comedy chops even when he is not even trying to. Because the scene when Fisk is sitting in the classroom and the kids are singing "We Built This City," he's sitting there trying to be a supportive person. Yes, I really appreciate your song. It all sounds really great. Can I please get the hell out of here? You can see in his eyes and his expression, the Kingpin is still there. He is trying to contain it. He's trying to push that side of him down into the shadows so that people don't see that it's still there, but he's barely holding it in. And just as the teacher was about to suggest that the kids sing another song, Wilson quickly says, no, that's fine, let's leave, we gotta go, but great job, kids. Only to later be greeted in the next scene by almost the exact same song, and watching him try to hold on to that frustration, his eye expressions, that was just comedy gold. I loved it. Vincent D'Onofrio is knocking it out of the park, but we already knew he would. And after a damning news story about Wilson gets brought up because of Daniel Blake's mouth, we finally get to see a teeny bit of that classic Wilson Fisk temper. You can tell that Fisk really does like this guy. Maybe this guy is going to eventually become his new Wesley, but at the same time, he is very livid about this story, and you can see it in his expression that he is just so close to headbutting this guy into the grave. But that, of course, would be very complicated because that woman was standing right there, so then he'd have to kill her too, and hence he would lose his reputation of being a man that's been reformed. But this is a clear sign that Wilson does indeed really respect this guy. He sees a lot of potential for this man. He is looking for someone to be his new right-hand person, and it seems like Daniel really could be that if he just learns to control his mouth a bit. Because if he didn't truly like Daniel, this guy would have gotten hurt. The Kingpin, or Mayor Fisk should I say, clearly has no problem still hurting people. It was pretty obvious from the bloody fist that Fisk has been rocking the last couple episodes that he has been tuning up somebody, and smart money was that it was in fact Vanessa's lover, Adam, and we do get that confirmed in this episode when he sits down to eat a very giant plate of pasta. Seriously, How is he keeping that weight down? That was a big plate of pasta. And sticking with Fisk a little bit longer, who really feels like these marriage counselor scenes are truly adding any depth to the story, to his character? Not only does it seem a bit out of character for him to sit back and watch somebody analyze his marriage to Vanessa, someone who he has been extremely protective of, I just really feel like it's not adding much to the story. He gets lectured about forgiveness during this marriage counselor session, but this is Wilson Fisk, the kingpin we're talking about. This guy is not capable of true forgiveness. It's honestly a miracle that Adam is even alive at all. I think that Fisk is probably enjoying torturing this guy. Now, I'm not saying that it's completely uninteresting watching Wilson Fisk, the kingpin, sit on a therapist's couch. I just don't think it's ultimately changing much with his story or changing his character at all. Maybe that's the point. Maybe the point of this whole scene, this whole storyline, is to show that a tiger cannot change his stripes and that Wilson Fisk is still going to stay the kingpin. And jumping over to Matt, he gets a case that involves a man stealing caramel corn from a store. I found his story about being very hungry to be quite moving. I understand that people do get desperate. It's a dog-eat-dog world out there. So this guy was clearly feeling a strong sense of desperation, and Matt understood that by the end of this episode and some of their deeper conversations. But in the end, I just can't get behind this because crime is wrong no matter the situation, if you ask me. What choices did this guy make to put himself in this situation? Why is he so strapped for cash? Because you find out he's got a pretty long rap sheet. He has already committed several crimes throughout his life. And at a certain point, you just have to wonder, is this guy doing nothing but making a string of bad decision after bad decision? And maybe he does truly need the book thrown at him. To me, it felt like this guy's monologue in this scene was trying to justify stealing. But I just don't think that that is okay. I just don't think that there's any reason in an organized society that people should be stealing from each other. It's just morally wrong. I do think that we do need to do more to help people who are in desperate situations, but that does not mean that just because you are in a desperate situation that you should resort to stealing. Bottom line, that's how I feel. And finally, let's jump over to this brief as fuck cameo from Jon Bernthal as the Punisher. Somehow Matt knows exactly where this guy is hiding. I guess from his super senses. Has he always known where this guy is hiding? Has he been hiding there the whole time? And as good as it was to see these two reunited on screen again, I just once again didn't feel like it landed all that well. I really think that Jon Bernthal is a fantastic actor and he does a great job as Frank Castle. You can really see that he is still very much the man that we first got introduced to in season 2. He is still a man that believes in taking things into his own hand. And I guess the silver lining with this scene is that he makes Matt question and come to terms with the fact that he is still having a hard time accepting that Foggy is dead. And this scene could be the catalyst that pushes him towards suiting up as Daredevil again. And I say that because at the end of this episode, we do see him going up to the roof and looking at his mask and practicing with his batons. So maybe we are going to finally see Daredevil returning at some point. Maybe it'll even be before the final episode. I sound a little salty and I'm aware of that. I feel like I'm a little bit let down so far. A strong first 2 episodes followed by 2 kind of uneventful episodes has me feeling like maybe Daredevil Born Again isn't going to be everything that we were all hoping it to be. You could easily argue that Matt is just as important as Daredevil, and I do agree that his alter ego as Matt, it is super important, but the real person, the real Matt Murdock is Daredevil. And as I said previously, we have already seen Matt grapple with giving up his life as Daredevil. We saw that in season 3. I just feel like this is starting to feel like a bit of a retread. Imagine if the next Spider-Man movie involves him throwing his costume in the trash. Do we really feel like we need to see that? We saw it already. We saw Andrew Garfield give up being Spider-Man. We kind of saw that storyline. We saw Tobey Maguire give up being Spider-Man. I don't want to see it happen again, and I really didn't care to see Daredevil give up being Daredevil again. I know I'm sounding extremely snobby. I feel weird even sounding like this, to be honest. I am not someone that needs a lot of big action scenes, but I have waited since 2018, just like you guys have, to see Daredevil back on the screen, and all I've gotten so far is a really quick scene that, yes, it was awesome, but come on, bring back the title character of Daredevil. This show is not called Matt Murdock, it's called Daredevil. The writing and the performances are all landing really well, and if I didn't care so much about seeing this as a superhero show, if this was not a superhero show at all, I would call this a very solid show. But this is a superhero show, and it's not feeling very super so far. That's my thoughts on this episode. episode. So if you liked this video, go ahead and hit the like button to let me know that you liked it. And if you want to hear more opinions from me, some movie reviews, anything like that, then subscribe to this channel. Later.